we'll do my part, and then we'll do predictions.
Yeah, and this is the bumper where we're all like, and now Beth says stuff. And Beth does say stuff.
I'm going to say stuff. I was looking for what it was that I wanted to talk about concept-wise with this chunk.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that I ran into in my research was something I did not know about, but I should have, which is therapeutic storytelling.
Like talk therapy, but with an audience?
Yeah. Talk therapy, but for someone who needs to perform themselves.
So all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Oh, like talk therapy, but with Klieg lights.
You've seen Barry, like almost everything that happens in Barry.
Right? And body storytelling often, not always, is a very therapeutic storytelling. And so I was reading into this, and this is a legit sort of way that people can explore specifically, usually childhood traumas, stuff that is in their past, that when you tell it in front of an audience, where you skip details is an incredible indicator of where your trauma is. And the idea behind this storytelling is that because you're focused on the audience, that eventually you'll stop skipping the details and find them. And say things you weren't expecting to say, and not recovery, but be able to express the thing that you have been avoiding.
So that's interesting in your mention of progressive increase of reveal, because you mentioned to me that this is the first time we've got an explicit scene expressed in retrospect.
Yes.
Every scene that Kvothe has given us so far, he's given us in a linear progression, and he's told us this bit of story, or he's given you a little bit of recollection.
And when he skips over stuff for his own privacy, he tells you that. His early childhood trauma, he says, I'm gonna skip this shit. And he's going to say, here's just an image of what it is, which A, is beautiful, and B, is somehow referencing that, there are traumas that I am not going to share with you.
And then in this chunk, when he introduces Auri, he references a missing scene.
Can I tell you the other time that I found that he references a missing scene almost? Right before he buys his loot. He says he sees it in the window, and then he asks how much it's for, and he says, I will never remember walking into the shop. Like that he does a very mini version of it in that moment, which I think is really profound. That is, in these chapters, he compares his desire to play music to really deep drug addiction and all of these things. But in that moment when he actually has the money and realizes he can or potentially could, he doesn't coherently think. He just ends up asking, how much is the loot?
We've been talking about this story as a meta-narrative, a story about stories. What strikes me now is that what we're also seeing is a deep revealing of a single character through his performance of himself.
I had not really thought of that. And obviously, we perform ourselves, but that's the whole thing of therapeutic storytelling, is getting you to perform yourself. You remember the act of killing? What is the documentary?
Killing of a Sacred Deer? Oh, no.
No. Oh, my God. Yeah, I've seen the act of killing. Jesus Christ.
Where they make the people who committed genocides recreate.
Jesus.
Like the folks who committed the killing fields.
Yeah.
And they're talking about what they did, and they still have it contextualized as this is good, this is heroic,
this is profound as a positive thing. And in their reenactment of it, you see them start to vomit and stutter and come to literal terms because they're playing themselves. It's I think that there's something really interesting in the idea of performing yourself, and I think that the sort of reveal of who you are in what you do and don't perform, and the potential space for a lot of healing and understanding of your own inner psyche can come from performing yourself.
I won't.
And, we mentioned it early and breezed right past it, but I want to call out the series Barry on HBO. It's
so good. It's so good, you guys. It's so funny, and it made me cry way more than
I don't like
should.
that guy, but now I love that guy.
Yeah, it's created and starring Bill Hader, and
who has always been fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like a hater.
One more time.
A hater.
Getting
I'm
worse.
not a hater.
This train is off the rails.
So we've delved into kind of the interesting question of therapeutic storytelling. The other concept that I wanted to talk about is a real play structure concept, but it's also every narrative ever, which is rising action and falling action. So rising action is building tension, and then there's a climax, which is a release of tension, and then there's falling action. I actually think that a really good example of this is when Quoth plays his music, right?
Yes.
There's this just really great punctuation chapter that is half a page. So we sit in this scene with Quoth while he's taking a gaze at the alien and figuring out where he is and what is going on. And it's amping up the energy and your own personal worry about whether or not he will or will not succeed. And it builds and it builds and it builds, and it's just a really lovely chapter that is all describing how he plays music, which I really wouldn't think I would find interesting. I read that book that was all about smells, and I didn't find the smells interesting.
But that was Mary Roach.
The way he tells you the story of the song is so moving and interesting and engaging. And you get through all of it, and then he bursts into tears at the end, which that's a real Quoth move.
Crying on stage.
But it's
like a boss.
It's all of this build up, including him creating the whole thing, and he basically tells you he kicked ass. But he also tells you that he's completely overwhelmed by his own experience with his art. And then chapter break, and it is him wondering. It's not even him, the applause. It's just quiet with him sobbing and then applause. It feels like that sort of punctuation and rush. So a lot of what I think you have to do, what is happening here in long-term storytelling, is you have to really balance the rising action, the climaxes, and the falling action. But I would like to point out, in this entire chunk, I don't think we've had any falling action. We've just had rising actions and climaxes. Like, this is the part where, in this book, where I couldn't stop reading.
Yeah.
Like, it just grabbed me by my nostrils and pulled me
Because
through.
Quoth's on a roll.
Through this entire second half of the book, there aren't a lot of falling actions. The energy just sort of...
I think the whole book is edging us. And I'm not saying I'm upset about it, because, hey, it's not my kink, but, like, that's what it feels like. The whole rest of the book. Well, I'm bringing this into our vocabulary so we can talk about it when we see it, because there are falling actions, and there are definitely, like, rest bits. Like, that's one of the things the interludes really start to do, is be like, rising moment outside of this. Because to some extent it's exhausting, too. Every chapter is complexifying how deep in the shit Quoth is. And broadening our sense of the world and the other characters and all of this stuff. It's just, I don't know if I have a better point than that.
Most of the narratives that we consume in Western culture, or a big chunk of them, are based on a 3-act structure. It's super common.
Yeah, that's why Shakespeare is so fucking clunky when you actually do it, because it's 5 goddamn acts, and you just have to cut out a bunch and shape it differently. And we should just stop doing it for like a decade.
But we see 3 acts in almost every movie, every
TV show.
Every TV show asterisk, because that's changing a bit with the
Right.
the reemergence of serialized television. You still see it in most serials. Most like standalone serial episode will have a bit of a 3-act structure. They're not world like establishing the world in Act 1 as much as you do with a standalone piece, but you establish the stakes of the episode.
Oh yeah, but even if you don't do the sort of standard like establishing the world and then the world changes in the resolution, what you do is rising action, climax, falling action.
Yep. And the reason that I'm looking at this 3-act is because we're dealing with a trilogy ostensibly. And so it
Oh, the second book is the climax. That's why there's so much fairy sex in it.
Yeah, a lot less fairy sex in the third book, Beth. Expect it.
It feels like it should be chunked out that way, but of course the second book isn't all of Act 2. Act 2 started we're basically at the start of Act 2 right now.
I don't even know if you can break them down in acts like that. It's so episodic.
It is extremely episodic, but I think I suspect, because we don't know shit about what book 3 is going to look like,
Right.
but I suspect that once book 3 is out and we can see the overarching narrative, we can see, or at least we can see Kvoth's spoken narrative. We can see the deeds of Kvoth overall. I suspect it will have something that you could look at and say, yeah, here are points where you can break it into 1, 2, and 3. They're just enormous chunks of material.
I feel like as narrative builders that are no longer stuck in the structures that every narrative builder has always been in, like books are the first and only one that gets to do this before podcasting and the new revolution of TV, where you can dictate how long things are and you can dictate how many things are. You don't have to fit everything into 27 minutes. You know, and radio shows, like for the longest time, all of our ears were just constantly trained to it. But I actually think books are one of the ways that we can break out of it. I think it's interesting to look at it in a 3-act structure way, but I think it's more relevant to its form to talk about all of the different actions within it.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to simplify it that much.
And I don't think it's particularly useful or crucial to look at it as a 3-act thing. I've just been sort of thinking about acts as I read it because Kvoth keeps bringing up theater. And one thing that stuck out in particular was his reference to the Silent Doctor in his meeting with Lauren, where he says the catastrophe is going to happen in the next act. In fact, it happens in the next scene.
I love that. And the other one is he calls Ellis Dahl the stage magician, the silly, he has a
staple sorcerer.
Yeah.
Staple sorcerer.
He really likes El
Shadal,
but is also like, he kind of looks like everyone's stupid impression of a magician. Which, by the way, gives me a better visual image than he's tall and has dark hair. I mean, obviously he has a goatee. We're not mentioning it, but a goatee.
There are two ways that El Shadal could be doing this. He could be doing like the very tightly shaved goatee, the very sharp lines, or like dangling mustaches and long flavor saver.
That's terrible. That's not it. No.
Three-prong dangle? That's
maybe.
Sinister. Yeah.
That is
well-oiled.
You know, that is pretty sinister. I think that when people make their fanfic of this stuff, let us know. How do you choose what beards they have?
Yeah. Share your DeviantArt pictures of...
I am not kidding you. I would appreciate your erotic fan art. If you don't have anyone to share your King Killer Chronicle erotic fan art, Beth is here for you. I will look at it all. I will even send you a thank you letter.
You know,
send it to me.
we record at least once a month. I'm happy to judge the submissions that we get at least once a month.
All right, I think that's kind of the end of my section. Do we want to talk about predictions?
Yeah, that's usually the next section in
Yeah.
this set of sections that we do.
Predictions.
Did I come up with any new predictions? I'm not going to check off it again.
Let's for a minute really talk about what it could be if Denna is like grooming him for something. You seem to think that there's a giant cabal that is watching over Quoth and pointing Quoth in directions.
Yes.
I don't disagree. You seem to think that the name of that cabal might be the Amir.
Yes.
Who I don't understand who they are because it's all those fable shit, and it was just kind of not my favorite part. So, what does the Amir mean?
The Amir, canonically in Quoth's world, is an order of knights, whatever.
Religious knights, gods, or something supernatural.
Well, no, in accepted contemporary history, the order the Amir was an order that had recently within. I
haven't reread these parts of the books yet. That when he goes into the stacks and you get reminded of all of this stuff.
I think this gets mentioned once in a part we've covered. I think he talks about it with Ben. Maybe I'm misremembering. But
I seriously don't think we really run into it until he starts getting into the research.
I feel like I
can't even remember if that's book 1 or book 2.
No, I can't. I feel like there was one sentence where somebody says, "But the Amir were disbanded 100 years ago."
You're right. There is that sentence does exist.
Yes.
So
they're the Illuminati or the Masons or the Rosicrucians. Like, they're a power behind the culture.
Okay. So you guys think they're like a secret order, not like
no,
gods?
I think it's less diffuse than that. I think that the Amir are more like the Knights Templar. Like they were a long-standing order of probably magician warriors.
Mage Knights.
Yeah. Who were
dorks,
quote unquote, disbanded.
Okay.
Which
means they went underground.
And my out there theory is that part of their charter is that they are in possession of either foreknowledge of the reincarnation of Telu or the means to enact the reincarnation of Telu, which is what I think Quoth is.
I find this a very fascinating idea.
Mm-hmm.
It seems very clever to me, which makes me believe that it is potentially what is going on. It is definitely, listeners, this theory has changed the way I'm rereading the books. Just so you know, in the rest of the time when I'm talking about it, I am checking these books for this theory because it reads really interesting to me. Yeah, I'm so easily swept up in the roller coaster ride of it because it's just so fun. Like, once you get past Tarbine, it's just so fun. And the next book is so also much fun.
Right. Oh my God. I can't wait.
I am so excited about getting to the second book again.
What we know for sure that supports my theory and is really the core of it is that Haliax is protecting the Chandrian from several named groups, one of whom is the Amir. And if there are active groups from which this incredibly powerful group of beings needs protection, then to think that they could secretly groom a boy is not a far leap.
Yeah, I like it. I'm testing it in my own read through.
It's made me actually expand what I think Denna's purpose could be and what her motive is. Sure, she could be a pawn of the Amir or someone even high up in the Amir, but she's not necessarily a couple years older than Quoth.
No,
she looks a couple years older than Quoth.
So that's also another theory, which would make me slightly less irritated. But
yeah, I do think that that's
She could be
not
one
at
of the
all unlikely.
sign,
So,
for all we know.
So, on the side of this theory, when rereading Volatile, the last chapter where the bone tar falls over, reading it with this context makes it feel so obviously someone planned it. It's not a leak, it's one of the table legs is covered in it and it falls over. And at some point, when Quoth is doing all of his heroic I'm getting burned shit, he goes, yeah, it smells like ammonia, of course, because it would be more volatile.
Yeah, I think that's the last line before he passes out.
And that, to me, really clearly says that Quoth has the suspicion that this was intentional. I wonder if that is old Quoth,
Right?
or his young self.
Yeah,
Who
there's
could have that understanding.
this section more than any of the previous ones makes me really suspicious of Quoth's recounting of his impressions at that age. I think we get old Quoth's old. I think we get
24-year-old Quoth.
actually adult Quoth's retrospective perspective of budding adult Quoth.
That's fair. If we're gonna have this section at the end where we really go like, what is going on in the books? Like, let's speculate. It's not just because it's like, God damn it, where's the third book? Because it's a bit of that, but it's also like, it's really expertly done. I feel like if Patty Rothfuss lands this well, it will feel like he has been telling the same story the entire time. And I kind of have faith that that's what we're going to get.
Yeah.
So I am really interested in trying to see if I can sort out a bit of how someone who is expertly handling this narrative ends up landing this.
So the thing that I wanted to predict on is the scriv that we meet of Viari.
Oh, we're absolutely have to see him again.
Yeah, I think we're going to see him again, and I think he's going to come in on an independent
Do we
tangent.
not see him in book 2?
Do we?
I think we do, at least in passing. I think so much in passing that we have to see him again in book 3. But I believe so.
Huh, I don't
Guys,
recall
books
that.
2
Oh.
are so exciting. We
We'll
haven't
see.
even gotten to the dragon yet.
Well,
There's
you
no
haven't.
dragons, Beth. It's in a book.
Chekhov's mating habits of the common Dracus pays off.
Yeah.
Oh
Right
my
where you expect it
God,
to.
that one's amazing. Boy, that was threaded through that entire novel.
Well, if there's no more predictions,
I
then you know
predict-
what time it is.
Oh, yeah.
You have a prediction?
Oh, yeah. No, I predict that Kvothe is going to continue going places and being like the nexus of all rumors and excitement in those places that he goes to. And it will both serve him well and poorly.
I
God
think
damn it. I was winding up for such a great segue, and you stopped it for that. I hate you.
Let's not overplay this segue.
You don't know where I was going.
Oh, I do.
I mean, you know where I was headed. You didn't know how I was going to get
Oh,
there.
you're right. Go
And
get
now
you
it's
some.
time for everybody's favorite fun podcast game. Wed, bed, slay. Hey, Beth, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I'm thinking of 3 characters. I'm sorry, I'm reiterating. I'm kind of stoned. I'm reiterating the rules of the game.
Game.
So 3 of the characters from the books, and I ask one of you
A victim of your choosing.
which ones you would have intercourse with, legally wed to under the laws of the state.
Yes.
Oh, my God. What are the laws of their state?
Yeah, good question. Or murder in cold blood.
Or hot blood.
Most blood is hot, so fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not murdering anyone in cold blood.
What
That's
about
not
the
my
Dracus?
Aw. The Dracus Drakus is my favorite. It's just a cow. Leave it alone. It didn't ask.
Fire cow.
It didn't ask for this.
Yeah, I was born a fire cow. I don't like it.
I have actually very warm feelings towards the Drakus.
Well, you can't use the Drakus because
wait.
we haven't gotten to Drakus yet. First, you have to say whom.
Whom am I giving the characters to?
Yes.
Whom? Rex.
Yes.
The 3 characters that I want you to perform this middle school feat on are Kelvin, Elsidal, and Lauren.
Ooh.
All right. Well, Wed is Kelvin.
Aww.
I mean, you know a provider when you see one.
You are going to have like the best illumination in town.
Bed, El Shadal. Bad boys, right?
I feel like you're missing out on Lauren.
But you know what? I would never know. He's not going to show you. I don't want to have to work for it. So my boy gets the axe.
Aw.
Sorry, Lauren.
Sorry, Lauren. You haven't been super great. Although we do think you're a part of a giant conspiracy to either help or harm Quoth. So good on you.
Well, a D-Day.
Yes.
Wed, bed, slay.
Slay.
That's not how the game works.
Still
We'll
not how the
see.
game works. Still.
I'm doing very well
Not
at
how
this
the game
game.
works.
I've already won. Beth didn't even say one of the things.
Fenton.
Wait a second. Okay, Fenton.
Fenton?
Yeah, no. Fenton, the magic smith.
Hemi. No.
Yeah, you can fight with a smith.
Okay. Hemi.
Who's Hemi?
The bad teacher.
Oh, shit. Hemi.
Or Ambrose.
Ooh.
Wow,
Yeah.
I see you went the other direction on this. Wait. Fenton is the guy that Quoth battled.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Marrying him.
Yeah, he seemed decent.
Yeah.
And-
You
good
would
at magic.
marry a guy named Fenton? Didn't we already cover this? Please
can-
continue.
I can call them Fenny. That's fine. Or Fen. Fen's a drug, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Great nickname. Fabulous. Okay, so
He better either be really fat or really skinny if you call him Fen.
Fen. Very true.
I marry Fen. Hemi is the worst, but I will fuck the worst. Yes, I will.
Yeah.
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 Oh, and
Yeah. The hard
and
degree.
and what I am
will.
going to do to Ambrose is I will fight someone if they need to be fought, but if I am going to kill someone who I have such a lack of respect for, the way that I feel that Ambrose is just a purely destructive force in the world, I would not even slap him. I would grab him by the face and I would look into his eyes and I would slowly push a knife into his gut and
It's
pull
a little
up.
intense and weird, and we,
Yeah, that's
fictional character. And
pretty
all.
try hard, man. You know they invented a guillotine.
I mean, that's not how you get the nickname King Killer.
Oh, I see your Quo thing.
Yeah.
Good job.
Beth.
Keep the bit going, buddy. You got this.
I am. But I had to take a breath from that. I'm not going to go into asking Beth that. All right. Beth. Devi. Kilvin. Lauren.
That's complicated.
I know.
I don't like this.
And I
one.
was going to give Devi last, but I figured I wouldn't. I think it's better up front. I'm really pitting Kilvin and Devi against you.
I think that this will be a struggle for you because we have yet to meet my favorite female characters.
Mm-hmm.
They are coming and they're amazing. And Devi's okay. So, sorry, Devi. Your magic doesn't work. I would kill Devi. I think I would marry Lauren. I feel like that's a really solid partnership that could really ground a human being, and I would certainly fuck Kelvin. Like I like Yes.
When you killed Devi, that all settled into place for
Oh,
me.
absolutely.
I think you actually made this too easy on her. Can I take
Are
a
you
check?
Yeah,
complicated
dude.
it?
Do what you need.
Beth?
Yes.
Wed, bed, slay.
Okay.
Will Sim man it?
Oh, no, that's so much harder.
Manet, not Savoy.
No,
No.
because you don't like Savoy.
No,
I
you can
love
toss out
Manet.
Savoy's fine, but like,
I love all three of these characters are characters that
See?
I really like.
that's how you play the game.
No, I hate this question now. Okay. We have to kill Sim.
Poor sappy Sim. He's got such a good
sweet.
heart.
He
He
does.
just cries at everything.
Yeah, but
Little
like
rich
I
kid.
really want to. Obviously, you'd fuck Manon.
We mentioned him earlier, but Aaron reached out and we skipped right past reading his prediction.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I wanted to not let that go. So bear with me as I pull it up.
Yeah, and please, if you listen this deep into the podcast, you probably have predictions that you would like to share with us. Please do. We want to hear them.
Yeah, send them in. We can read them like they're from you. We can adopt them as our own predictions because we don't have our own. Like anything you want. Works for me.
You know what? Since you came so hard at the prediction game, why don't you read that last paragraph there?
Okay, Aaron's tinfoil hat theory is that the Fae is made of pieces of Temerant, being represented in that story as one body in two pieces. Kvothe will eventually screw up big time. Come on, we all know it's going to happen. And I think it's rejoining the two worlds, bringing chaos. There are some textual clues, but I'm betting a lot of this on how cagey Rothfuss is about the geography of his world.
I love that so much. The
Right?
idea that they're the Fae and the humans, right? Is that the difference? The Tamarath? I'm sorry, we have to get back to book 2 before I know this shit again. But I love that idea that Kvothe is sort of the...
It's going to fix the split between fairy and reality.
Yeah.
Or already did.
And now there's fucking Skraelings running around.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kvothe.
Jesus, Kvothe.
But Basque. So, it balances out.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, thanks for listening. Reach out to us by email or find us on social media. Also, we do have a Patreon if you feel like being a patron. Lord knows that is a great way to support us, and you can get cool D-Day designed swag for it.
Yeah, like the stuff that is too edgy for TeePublic.
You can also find stuff on TeePublic if you want to just buy a thing. We understand that it is a rough financial situation out there for anybody, and committing to giving somebody $1 or $2 a month can be tough.
Or you could help us out in a non-financial way by letting the other nerds in your life who love this book know that we do this podcast. We'd really appreciate it.
And also by subscribing, rating, and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts especially, but on whatever service you're using to listen to our podcast.
Yeah, and listen to Lizard's music. Earwig is a great band.
Yes, they are.